All right, Hustle Fam, we are back with another amazing and very special episode. Today, I am joined by Mr. Bill Lecos, the Executive Director of the National Home Delivery Association. How are you, Bill?
I'm great, thanks.
So, Bill, we've been working together for quite some time. I've been to the National Home Delivery Association conferences. We've interviewed some of you guys members, and great organization. And I'd love for you to tell people about the organization while we're here during this podcast. But in addition to that, we have to talk about some things that's going on in the industry that's affecting your organization, that's affecting members, that's affecting business owners, entrepreneurs, that's affecting a lot of people in this last mile delivery space. So we kind of wanted to touch on it. We wanted to talk about it. We want to bring some awareness to it and just talk about, what's happening so people can know. First, Bill, before we kind of get into it, talk about the National Home Delivery Association and what your role is in the organization.
Glad to. NHDA represents the companies that are in the final mile delivery of bulky goods, serving as the intermediary between retailers and those retailers' customers, appliances, furniture, and the like. And we represent the largest companies in that segment. And they execute their business through your folks. About 90% of all final mile bulky good deliveries, Rahmel, in the U.S. are conducted actually between the warehouse and the front door by independent contractors. And I know that's a lot of folks in today's audience.
For sure. So when you say independent contractor, can you put some context around what that means?
Yeah, most of the time, these are smaller, relatively small businesses. They've started their own business. They've engaged in final mile delivery. They've gotten their DOL licenses. They're insured. They've taken the steps to secure a vehicle, usually, a box truck. And they've hired at least one other person, because every delivery in our industry requires two people. It's scheduled delivery, and it also includes setup and installation. But folks have done this because of the entrepreneurial opportunity. This is a very large industry. It is growing every year. It is thankfully one of only the handful of businesses that really developed during the pandemic, as more and more people got used to online commerce, and particularly in areas like bulky goods. Most folks would never have bought a washing machine online before 2020. Now we're kind of used to it. So the industry is really growing, and thus it presents a wonderful opportunity for folks who want to be in logistics, who recognize that effort, sticking with it, and good contacts can result in a tremendously successful business. And so we're very pleased to play a role in fostering that entrepreneurial environment on behalf of our independent contractors. Why are they independent contractors? Because they're independent companies. They sign a contract with our members to deliver a set of services. Those services are defined. But the one thing the independent contractor doesn't give up is they're still their own company. They still make they make their own decisions. They are the ones who are hiring other folks. They're the ones responsible for the day-to-day operations. And sadly, in the political environment we have found ourselves in, particularly in the issue of how an independent contractor versus an employee is defined. There is a new federal rule out. We find ourselves that a lack of understanding of how important independent workers and contractors are is really, really going to affect our industry and your readership.
We are here live at OTR Solutions HQ. I'm here with my partner, Jonathan. Man, listen, factoring is an integral part of the transportation industry. Why is factoring important?
Absolutely, Rahmel. In this economy, in this market, cash flow is king. Cash flow is the key to growth. If you have a young trucking company, or if you've been in the industry for years and you want to take that business to the next level, we're absolutely a company that can help. So I hope you'll give us a call today. Let us know what we can do to help you out.
Get the rest and roll with the best. Let's go.
Listenership.
Got it. So What is the traditional, what is the traditional relationship, if you could put definition around it? And you kind of went into it just now, but I want you to expound on it, between the members of your organization and these contractors. How are they typically sourced? And what is the working relationship between them?
Well, the working relationship is a B2B relationship. They work under contract. Our members secure the business through the retailers, and then they go to the independent contractors and contract with them to make the final mile delivery. And like all businesses, you define quality of service, frequency, and all those other things. So our people really do act as the intermediary. It would be very difficult, imagine, Rahmel, for your listenership, folks that are in this space, if they had to individually go out and contract with Best Buy or Home Depot or Ashley Furniture or all the national retailers that drive our segment. What our members do is they aggregate that, and they operate in multiple locations. So an independent contractor can come to one of my members, build a relationship in their market, and know that they've got a good, steady, stable, long-term opportunity to grow their business.
Got it. And what is the gray area that you alluded to that is now in question?
Well, the current administration has created rules that would, and I don't want to belabor sort of the legalese of it. There are, 6 different tests that define an employee versus an independent contractor. There's a 7th statement that says we can't tell you which of these 6 is most important in characterizing the relationship, but if it's not one of these, it might be something else. And so what it's left us with is, as you phrased it, a gray area. It is possible that any one of your listeners could be determined not to be an independent business, but rather should be an employee of the company they're contracting with. And, the old, I guess, 1800s mindset that everybody works for somebody else isn't true in today's economy. Today's economy, independent work is critical. Independent contracting, such as occurs in our industry, but also think about all the folks who sell Mary Kay or do independent sales or, are involved in the gig economy, freelance writers, screenwriters in Hollywood, hairdressers, etc. Many of these folks are independent workers. Now, a little different than what happens in final mile. A lot of independent work in this country is actually that side hustle. Folks are drawing a W-2, they're working for somebody else, but they're working on the side. They're working on the side to raise a little extra money, to maybe, buy a house. I rode with an Uber rider out to the airport a couple of weeks ago. It was dark 30 on a Saturday, so we're chatting. And I asked this gentleman, I said, well, do you drive full time? And he goes, no, I'm an engineer. I work for an engineering company. And I said, oh, really? Well, why do you drive? He goes, I got 2 daughters in med school. Okay, I get why.
That's right.
Even a job like an
med school's not cheap.
Really cheap. So the bottom line, Rahmel, is that we're living in an economy that is absolutely reliant upon independent workers and independent businesses. And this new rule threatens to go to an independent business, such as your listeners, and say, okay, you should be an employee of the company you're contracting with. And, frankly, most entrepreneurs I know, and particularly in trucking and logistics, they didn't go out and do the work to set up their own company so they can work for somebody else. Their dream is different. Their dream is bigger.
Sure. If you would, Bill, I don't know how versed you are on those 6 or 7 things you just now mentioned, but I think it would be helpful to the audience if you could name some of those things that they're kind of questioning. You said, like, if you're one of the or 2 of the 6 of the 7, if you wouldn't mind going into that, I think that would be helpful.
Well, let me preface this. I'll be glad to cover it again, sadly, with broad brush. The rule is 137 pages long.
Wow.
So I don't think there's anybody other than the lawyers and perhaps a few folks on Capitol Hill who've even had the opportunity to do that. But it is very similar, Rahmel, where I think a lot of your listeners will identify. It is very similar to the existing tests that are in California under the AB5 rule. Who controls? Do you have your choice of clients? Do you employ? Are you there's this whole list of other things that the confusing part about this new rule that changed what that was implemented in 21 is it is so vague. And so what happens is you really don't know. It's really not a question that answers well, because there's no, it says on page 127, section 7, part B, if you pick up loads at 9 a.m, you will be an independent contractor. No, it is vague across the board. And one of the reasons it is so vague, and one of the reasons so potentially harmful, as I referenced earlier, they are trying to apply a single rule to hundreds of different occupations across which the definition of independence may vary. Most people, for example, if you ask most independent workers, not contractors who are doing delivery, but if you ask most folks who are independent workers, a DoorDash driver or a freelance writer or that sort of thing, why do you do it? You ask somebody who's selling Mary Kay or is doing Cutco or Amway and those sorts of things, vast majority of them are doing it as a side gig. And so you ask them, why do you do this? Well, they say, the money, obviously, but what they really want, the most important reason people work independently is they want flexibility. Folks who are taking care of kids, folks who are taking care of their elders, folks who may have part-time work, military wives and spouses are very, very engaged in the independent economy because they move every 2 years and don't necessarily have the opportunity to start a traditional employment relationship every time their spouse gets transferred to a new duty. So there's this incredibly wide range of reasons folks engage in independent work. One rule cannot cover that. And I go back to California when they passed AB5, which has had a terrible impact on independent workers and independent contractors in California, of impacts that are now being well understood as there's been time for academic research. We find that the California started out targeting trucking, ended up passing a rule, and then had to come back and exempt 200 different worker classifications. We had no idea that this would affect Uber drivers, this would affect Lyft, this would affect screenwriters in Hollywood. And so anytime you pass a rule conceptually to fix a problem and then have to come back and change it 200 times to meet reality, you obviously haven't done your homework.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest flaw in the Department of Labor's approach to this rule is they stated up front that their assumption is everybody who's an independent contractor or worker will become an employee. And, I would ask your folks on listening today, how many of you started your business with the hope that you could one day work for someone else?
Yeah. Why do they want to, what's the purpose for this new rule? And from what they're saying, from their perspective?
It somewhat befuddles me. If one were to sort of paint with broad brush on the political agenda, and I hate to do that because nothing distills down very well to a good answer. Certainly there's a sense that, well, if everybody's working, maybe that's better for unions. That may be one-ish. Obviously, this is a pro-union president by his own admission. This is a pro-union administration. We've seen legislation like the PRO Act and other things that have come forward that reinforce that. I think this may very well be part of that effort, but it's misplaced because there's no doubt.
Business owners are used to wearing many hats, but accountant should not be one of them. Receipts, payroll, taxes, 1099s, insurance, bookkeeping. It's time to get your back office off your back. You can consolidate your financial operations into one flat monthly plan that takes care of all of your accounting, payroll, and tax needs. Meet TRANSPOCFO, powered by VENNING, a full-service CPA and business advisor, helping companies like yours save time, money, and headaches. Hate math? We love it and have been doing this since 1978. We manage your entire financial operating system and provide you with a single point of contact, saving you time and money so you can get out of the back office and back to business.
Rahmel, and we've participated in, probably 50 meetings on Capitol Hill over the last couple of months. Nobody has got up and defended misclassification, which is the practice where an employer takes somebody who should be an employee and says, no, I'm going to treat you as a contractor and you're not going to get benefits you're owed, you're not going to get overtime you're owed. Nobody defends that. And in fact, under the current rule, the Department of Labor has been able to enforce the very legitimate worker protections that are intended in the FLSA laws. So they're seemingly trying to move and fix a problem that doesn't really exist, except they think they may be able to move forward on other fronts. So our industry, and I'm not an expert in anything, but ride share, or I'm not a screenwriter. I don't know that, but I know in our business, our industry, based on the last study we did, is let's say $12 billion a year in revenues for final mile bulky good deliveries. That is the most expensive, least efficient part of the supply chain. Anybody who's working and listening to the podcast who does final mile knows how hard it is to make it work well, how hard it is to be efficient, how hard it is to be sustainable, how hard it is to keep people. It is a very inefficient by nature piece of the supply chain. If you disrupt it, you are going to increase costs. Now those costs are going to get passed along. I said our industry delivered $12 billion worth. That's what we charged collectively, all of us today, in final mile bulky goods. We moved over $300 billion worth of retail items. Now, if you're going to increase the final mile cost by 40 to 50% of the delivery, that cost is going to be reflected in the cost of your sofa or your recliner, or your refrigerator. So that's an economic hit. But the biggest thing I think for the folks who are so tuned into Truck and Hustle is you have fostered a community of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs want to grow their business. We are fortunate at the NHDA to share an interest with those entrepreneurs in seeing that they're successful. And 87% of deliveries would not be done by independent contractors if there were a better way to do it. If employee model, which was 50 years ago, the rule, worked as well, you wouldn't have seen independent contracting and the opportunities for Truck and Hustle listeners to have grown so substantially. It wouldn't have happened. And folks are in logistics, your folks understand why. Because if everybody's going to be on staff, do you think they're going to hire enough people for Black Friday, for peak seasons, as the pressure or the demand shifts around the country? Are you going to keep moving employees from New York to Arizona to the Pacific? No, so what happens is independent contracting has helped the supply chain world become very flexible, very responsive to the economy. Would we have been able during the pandemic to jump the number of home deliveries astronomically across parcel, courier, bulky, every segment of home delivery. Would that system have worked as well if you had a limited number of employees to begin with and had to go out and hire all folks? No. What happened was independent contractors responded. They added people. They looked at segments and said, there's not as much this going on, so I'm going to move my resources over into this segment. And they adapted, and consequently, the United States, all of us were better off for that. So that's a long-winded answer. I think the most important thing on this subject is the rule was introduced. Let me boil down DC 101 here. I live in DC.
And what is the name of the rule, Bill? If somebody wanted to Google it or check it out?
It's a long-winded Department of Labor independent contractor employer misclassification definition. But I'll give you a quick resource to go to. They introduced the rule. NHDA came together with almost every other industry you can think of, the significant players, all under the umbrella of the Coalition for Innovative Workforce. And we've gone on Capitol Hill, and there's a Congressional Review Act that's working its way through the Senate and the House that can overturn the current rule and go back to the old rule. It won't mean there's no rule. It'll just mean we'll go back to the 2021 rule. That's, as they say in DC, that CRA is moving into its final steps now. The critical focus for folks on this podcast, and I hope will be out there before May 15th, but folks have to weigh in. Your listeners who are contracting, who are doing home delivery, whether it's bulky goods or not, doesn't matter, Rahmel. Those folks who are engaged in this economic sector need to call, particularly if they live in Arizona, if they live in Ohio, if they live in Missouri, Montana, critical states. Call their Senate office. There's a website that's been set up by the coalition called Save Independent Work, one word, .org. SaveIndependentWork.org. If you click on that, you can enter your address, couple of buttons, send a note to your senator. Let them know, hey, I got into this business X years ago. It was nothing but me, my neighbor, and a truck. We've grown it. We've got 6 trucks. I employ, 25 people. Don't mess this up.
Got it. A quick question for you. So, for someone who fits that definition or fits the characteristics you just now gave, like that person with 6 trucks or 20 employees, so forth and so on. Can you help to explain the impact that it will have to them? Because we talked about the impact that it will have to your members and the people in the organization in terms of costs will rise, 40 to 50%. But outside of them, not owning the business anymore, what is the direct impact to them so they understand how this
that's pretty significant. Mrs. Lincoln, other than that, how is the play? if independent work had to be, was displaced in logistics, and everybody had to become an employee, then independent contractors who are currently working with our members would have to sit down. The members would say, well, listen, we can't contract with you anymore. We can't do that. We have to hire you. Do you want to be a driver for us? Do you want to be a helper on a truck that we own? Do you want to give up your business and come work for us? Some people might say yes. Fine. I mean, that's certainly, but not 100% of them, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs. I've spent my entire life working for entrepreneurs, basically. They've got a fire. Their fire isn't to work for other people. They've done that. They've seen other opportunities. They look for paths where they can grow their own business. So that's the outcome. I would hate to think, were I an independent contractor, that I'd put in the blood, sweat, and tears for 5 years, got the company to the point where I finally began to think we might succeed. where I was sleeping some nights a week, and then all of a sudden turn around and say, wait a minute, I can't do this? How come?
Yeah. And I mean, there's real use cases of, companies and independent contractors. I know people who are part of your organization, like such as my friend Arelis, like Bonilla, right, with Area Logistics, who started off with one truck as an IC and has now grown to probably hundreds of trucks, right, and multiple entrepreneurial endeavors, right. So I mean, that's what I was trying to get you to kind of explain.
Well,
Like it caps your potential.
Yeah, and Arelis is a great example, and there are a dozen others in the NHDA who all came up basically working from an employee for somebody else to starting their own companies.
Yeah.
Some of them are as successful as Arelis. Some are bigger, some are not. But that's the goal. That's the goal. And in fact, the other story, great story, and the thing that we relish most at NHDA about our relationship, our shared relationship with ICs, is another big program that NHDA is going to roll out next year. We're calling it the IC Accelerator, and it's intended, and it'll be developed by the NHDA. It'll be under the NHDA's umbrella, Rahmel, but basically it'll be an opportunity for independent contractors to access education, training, other materials to grow their businesses, to be better at final mile bulky goods, to get a certification that says, hey, I've invested in my team and our learning, and we're going to do a better job. And that will elevate those independent contractors within our membership's interest. So they'll be able to sign more contracts, grow more business. And a big piece of this program that we'll be rolling out will be aimed so that we can go to the ICs and say, hey, let us help you with the tools to take your company and go from 2 trucks to 4 trucks, to go from 4 trucks to 8 trucks, to go from 8 trucks to becoming Arelis. That kind of thing, because the most important thing in our business to our members is their relationships with the independent contractors, without a question, because that's, the independent contractor controls, in essence, the whole experience.
Making sure that your compliance is on point is an integral part of any trucking related business. Today, I stopped by my friends over at FLEETDRIVE 360 to talk about what they're building to make sure that you can run a successful trucking company.
And it's everything from the minute you decide you want to hire somebody through maintaining all of your FMCSA compliance documents for ongoing fleet or owner-operator truck business. You've got a driver hiring and recruiting module where you'll create driver qualification files, import digital documents. You've got a drug and alcohol module where you can schedule pre-employment drug tests and manage an ongoing testing pool. We've got an accident registry so you can keep your mandated accident logs and even schedule follow-up drug testing for post-crash. We've got vehicle maintenance logs so you can not only maintain the compliance status of your vehicles, but also upload your work orders and compliance related documents so you're audit ready when they come in. We've got a document repository, fancy words for digital cloud storage of any document that you want, not just necessarily the compliance documents, anything related to your business, post-crash videos, performance evaluations. And then finally, you've got the dashboard. And the dashboard's the most important part. You can close your eyes and glance at our dashboard, open them, glance at the dashboard, and immediately know whether or not you're compliant or not, both on a driver, company, and vehicle level.
It's one-stop shop for all your compliance needs.
They're the person who shows up at the warehouse. They're the one who picks up the product. They're the one who assures the product is ready for delivery and installation and setup. They're the one who knocks on the door and says, we're here. They're the one who goes into the house, sets up, displays, demonstrates equipment. They're the ones who go to the retailer's customer and says, are you happy? And then, cleans up, move on out. The entire experience, the retail experience, is in the hands of independent contractors. So making them stronger, making them better at that, giving them the tools, not only to do the job better, but also to build their businesses is a win-win. our members would much rather work with somebody that they trust, someone that they've had a relationship with, someone that, they know will, is dedicated to a great job. They'd much rather see that company grow and add more trucks than they would have to run around and roll the dice on somebody they've never met who says, hey, I know how to deliver sofas.
Right.
So
right.
This IC Accelerator program, we're very, very excited about. And I think it'll open up a new chapter in the relationship, frankly, across the industry, but it'll also be a tremendous assist to a lot of the folks listening to the podcast today who want to follow up and continue on that entrepreneurial path that they've chosen. They'll have the customers, the chance to grow. They'll have the tools. They'll have the training resources for their teams. They'll get a certification of some sort that says, hey, we're going to be the best. And that's got to help the whole cycle.
Got it. You named a few states in particular earlier. Why those states? You said like Missouri and a few other states. You said especially there. What's important about those places?
Well, everything in Washington comes down to votes, and we have to have the votes by middle of next week, and so those 4 states are all critical. Can
you name them again, Bill?
Ohio, Missouri, Montana, and Arizona. You've got 8 senators. Not to say that any other readers, if you're in New York, listeners, if you're in New York, by all means, call your congressperson and all. But if we have to get across that Senate vote next week, if we do that, then we'll carry over into the House. Hopefully we'll have some success. We'll move forward. Let me be absolutely frank. It is 100% likely that if we're successful in Capitol Hill, that this president's going to veto the bill. His Department of Labor wrote it. Frustrating as that may be, that doesn't mean that all's lost on this. First of all, we're in courts like we were the last time. We won in court last time. So NHDA and our coalition is going to be continuing to fight this rule. But this has been a tremendous, tremendous opportunity, Rahmel, to educate lawmakers about the critical importance that our folks play in this economy.
Got it. And what's the date of the proposed veto? May?
Not the veto, the rules under which the Congress acts. It'll be May 15th.
May 15th.
In the Senate. The takeaway is the time is now.
Got it. The time is now. All right, man. Well, listen, I definitely appreciate, all the insight and just the passion that you have for, this industry and, the independent contractors and the members of the NHDA, right? Because it's all, one big collaborative thing that everybody plays a part into. So, and we appreciate you guys, for your partnership. Also, Truck and Hustle has recently partnered with you guys to kind of help share the message and also feature some of your members and some of the people that are doing great work within your organization. So we're really excited about that and exploring those opportunities as well. So I think we've kind of covered it, Bill. Is there anything else that you want to throw out there before we kind of end it?
Well, I think a lot of us will be in Philadelphia in early June at Home Delivery World.
We will.
NHDA's Women's Council is hosting our annual reception Wednesday evening at the Lowe's Hotel up on the 33rd floor. So come on by. Let's chat. Have a drink.
Sounds good. Good. All right, Bill. I love it. Any final parting words you want to give to the entrepreneurs out there, sir?
Thanks. We love our partnership with TNH. You guys do great work. You're a great voice for the industry, and we couldn't be happier to be working with you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Mr. Bill Lecos, Executive Director of the NHDA National Home Delivery Association. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about this very important topic. We will see you guys until next time. We are out of here.
Take care, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Truck and Hustle. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe down below. See you next time.
If you twisted, confused, or stuck about trucks, don't be dumb. This is the place to come. Truck and Hustle. Let's go.